Move on to SQL Stored Procedures. Next, we are going to talk about SQL Stored Procedures. A stored procedure is really a group of Transact SQL statements compiled into a single execution plan. You can invoke other procedures and functions from within a stored procedure. SQL Server stored procedures return data in 4 different ways as output parameters, which can return data. Also, you can return obviously a table from a stored procedure. They can return codes or raise exceptions. A result set for each select statement contained within the stored procedure. So like I mentioned, you can the output from a stored procedure can be a select table or a table select statement or a table, and then a global cursor that can be referenced outside the stored procedure. So the stored procedures are very handy, very useful items in SQL Server. In fact, that's where a lot of the coding happens, within SQL Server or Oracle for that matter. And so why is that? Why do a lot of people use stored procedures? Well, let's look at some of the advantages of using these bad boys. The stored procedure can really use input and output parameters. Okay, so you can pass input parameters to a procedure and then it can push parameters out of the procedure. The next point is huge. They execute a lot faster than writing ad hoc TSQL. Okay, and the reason for that is because it's compiled and it's part of the database. So in other words, when you are writing TSQL, let's say select star from something, or you're joining among tables, SQL Server has no idea of what you're trying to do. Okay, whereas when you are executing a procedure, SQL Server already has that execution plan. It knows about it, and it's definitely going to run a lot faster. Another important point is because of code reuse and portability with stored procedures. Also, they can be used to enforce business rules. And finally, another advantage is they can be used as a security mechanism, which allows the DBA or the developer to really give access to the stored procedure only and not the underlying data. So you may have a situation where you are pulling information from an employee table, but don't want to show sensitive information and don't want to give access to that table. You could create a stored procedure that will pull the necessary information for the user without the breakdown in security. Now, the one disadvantage, if you can think of, is that they cannot be used in a select statement. This is where the functions come in handy. So in the prior section I showed you that I don't have the examples anymore, but if we refresh our functions, you notice that when we did a select, you can put that function as part of your select statement. Now with stored procedures you will be unable to do that. Okay, now as far as the examples for stored procedures that we are going to cover today, there are quite a few of them. So let me go down the list. We have one that is going to be basic, very simple, but basically it's going to move files and run basic DOS commands. And here's the name of the procedure, which is move back files. Another procedure that we create is going to run an SSIS package, which is SQL Server Integration Services, which is the way you can move data into and out of SQL Server. And so our proc is exec SSIS products, probably to do with products table. And then the third proc we have is going to do some kind of aggregation, okay, and return the summary result using a proc which is sales by category name, which is intuitive, I guess, where it's going to return that information. And then finally, the long example we have on a proc is to rebuild all the indexes in a database using a stored procedure. So this is more on the DBA side of things, and so we have this stored procedure that we will show you. What it's going to do is it will take a database as a parameter and will load up all the tables into a temp table, and then it will use alter index command to rebuild all the indexes. Okay, so a few examples in here. And now, as far as we showed you functions already, the stored procedures are right next to them. So, and there are some functions in here out of the box. In fact, we probably created a few in here just for testing, but let me load up the script so we can walk you through this. So in fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy all of this and actually create another one. So what I can do is I can just do one of them at a time in order to keep the confusion down to a bare minimum. So the first command here is use Northwind database, which we're already in, but that just kind of specifies that. Now, just like the function, we start out with create. You can either say proc or procedure. Then you say name of the files. You can add any input parameters, which we don't have in this case. What that means is that this procedure will simply go ahead and execute and take some action. We have the keyword as, and then we have some comments. Okay. This, by the way, I typically put that in my procedures as a comment. So after I build the proc, when I want to execute that, this is the command I'm going to use. Okay. Another comment in here is that I'm using DOS commands. And so this is a very simple example, but it highlights the point that within stored procedures in SQL Server, you can run DOS commands, which is very powerful. And it does utilize an extended stored procedure called XP command shell, which, let me copy that. If you Google that, it will tell you that it can run Windows command shell commands from within SQL Server. Very powerful and obviously dangerous if somebody gets a hold of it. But within this proc, let me give you an example. This is just a comment in here. But if I do this, this is going to list my directory under the C drive. Okay, so now check this out. Within SQL, I'm able to list my folders and the amount of space available. That is great information. So you can certainly do things like that. Now, what I'm showing you here is basically a DOS command, which is copy. And I need to copy this file, which is a backup file, from my temp directory to my C temp backup. So before I even do that, let me highlight this, go here. You'll notice that I do not have anything in here. If I move one level up, I do have this Northwind backup database in here, backup of Northwind. So all this proc is doing is basically, it's moving this file one level deeper. Okay, so let me just run this command, and now it's saying create procedure must be the first statement. So I can take this part out. Okay, now I will run it. It should work. And now all I need to do is I'm going to go towards the end and just execute this. Okay, and it says one file copied. If I come back here, go to my backups, the file is there. So not too exciting, but it kind of gives you an idea of the capability of stored procedures. Now let's move on to the next one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this part out. And actually I'm going to highlight this one, open up a new window. Now this one is a proc called execute SSIS products. Again, we're not passing a parameter. Really all it does is it runs SSIS package, which is integration services. Now if you wanted to know more about SSIS, we can basically connect to this. It's a little detour, but let me just show you. Oh, my SSIS service is not running right now, but I have saved this package in this location, so maybe I can show you that. Let me go back here. I have that here. You will notice that this part, SSIS products.dtsx, this in fact is integration services package in here. I can right click on this package and I can select just do open. Okay, so this is basically an execute package utility. If I go into connection managers, you'll see that my source is actually the database, which is the Northwind database, and my target is going to be a file in ctemp called product list. Okay, so if I go to ctemp, sort by name, I don't have a product list. I have an old one that I was playing around with, but I don't have a product list.txt. Okay, so from within SQL, I'm going to again use xp command shell, okay, which is right here, and then here is the path to my dt-exec.exe, which is the utility that runs SSIS packages. And as far as what package I'm going to run, it is going to be this part right here that we just looked at. Okay, so and then I'm going to encapsulate this all into a procedure like I've showed you. Okay, so I compiled it. Now I will copy this, go to a new window, and simply execute it. You can do exec or execute, either one should work. Okay, and if I did this right, it's going to go ahead and run the SSIS package, which basically here's all the information in here. It includes the data flow task, some of the other information, and at the end here's the line that you're looking for. It says the package execution return success. Now we should have a file in here called product list, and here it is. I just ran it, 1046. So now if I open it, all it's doing is it's dumping basically information from the products table into a product list.txt. Okay, and how could this be useful? Well, maybe your pricing changes maybe daily or weekly. Okay, and then people on the Salesforce, they need to know the updated pricing. Okay, maybe you got some specials going on. So instead of having them access to the table, you could just essentially push all of this information into a table, into a text file, and they should be able to get to that. So that would be an idea behind that. So let me kill that. As far as if you want to make sure these procs are being actually produced, if you come to Object Explorer, right click on it, select refresh, the one we just created are exec SSIS products, and what was the other one? Move backup files. And you can right click, select these, modify, so this will give you some information on the proc. So we did that one. Let's keep plugging away. As far as the third proc, like I mentioned, does aggregate computation. It's going to return summary. Basically, it's going to return sales from your database by category. Okay, so you may have different product categories, and you want to see which ones are really doing well. You could create a procedure for this. So let me walk you through this now. Again, it's create procedure, sales by category name. Now this time you'll notice that we are passing a category name, and this is going to be a varchar data size 10. Okay, and then I have some comments. I think I was testing some of this stuff, but all really it's doing is it's doing a select statement, okay, from the products table, and also from the orders detail extended table, okay, which is the product sales, and then categories. Those are the tables: categories, products, orders, and order details extended. Okay, and then the important part is where it says category name, okay, is equal to the parameter that I'm passing in. Where's that parameter? Right here. Okay, so I want you to run all this information for this particular category. Now if I were to run this manually, let me just do this. Actually, I'm going to highlight this, open up a new window. I'm going to change this to I'll put in something manually here. Let's just say seafood, as it's supposed to be a lot healthier than eating meat and potatoes, I guess. Now if I run this for that category, here are the products and here are their sales. Okay, so I mean this is fairly useful information, but how can we put this in a proc? Well, that's easy. I mean, like I just showed you, you just pass in the category and then you know, do a little bit of coding. So let's go ahead and run this, compile this. Okay, it did compile. Now another thing, maybe I haven't shown you this, but pretty cool in Management Studio, that is find our proc, which is